Want the best new music playlist in New Zealand? Follow You Music New and keep up to date with the biggest songs. The best songs. And the songs you need to know. This is how we do, yeah. Chillin' laid back, straight stun, yeah, we do it like that. Be the one who's first to the good stuff. Click on the banner and follow You Music New, New Zealand's best new music playlist.
everyone. For those at the back, if you could just find a seat, we're actually going to start in a few seconds. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone? Hey, Steve. Okay. Hey, thanks for coming for Let the Games Begin. Of course, I put SMCAKL there because you are at Social Media Club Auckland. My name is Jan Mayer, one of the committee members of SMCAKL. Thanks for coming, guys. Before we start, I'm really excited because I've been a gamer all my life, I guess, for World of Warcraft and social games and stuff, and I also published a few gaming guides here and there for the US. So this is close to my heart. So thanks, guys, from the team giving me this event. Okay, before we meet the panelists and all that lovely stuff, we'd like to thank our sponsors, of course. Vodafone, thank you so much for the venue. Without this venue, this awesome venue, we wouldn't be here. And Oracle, of course, for the most of the drinks that you are drinking right now, beer and wine and all that, thank you, and discount as well. And for pizza, of course, for Domino's. And thank you from Interlight, guys, the ladies. I'm sure when you entered the door, you could have taken your picture and stuff, so you'll see that over on the Facebook page at SMCAKL. Now, we do have 2 prizes tonight. Hey, it's a gaming social media thing, so we should have prizes. We do have one from conference, of course. We'll tell you about that later, which is about 2 guest passes for the NZ Marketing Summit on September, I think. Yep. All you need to do is just go to this link, by the way, marketingsummit.co.nz/SMCAKL register, and they will announce the winner on their website on Friday. And we do have Immersia as well. They will be giving out a really cool shirt, and they will explain later what it looks like. All right, before we have our new shiny thing, we do have Brooke from TV3 and Cure Kids to just say a few words.
Thank you very much. Hey, it's exciting. I was at the last one of these, which was about sex. More people have shown up tonight for gaming, which is both worrying and exciting. But I've got 30 seconds up here. I promise to make it not too much of an infomercial, but it's too much of an opportunity for me to miss. Friday is Red Nose Day. It's a day that we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years. We're trying to make it a day the entire country gets involved in. You are probably the best way to communicate with the entire country. So it's way too good an opportunity for me not to try to bribe you guys. I could bribe you. I'm good for favors. I need you guys in the morning to tweet or to post about Red Nose Day, and when 7 days is on, we've got a big 7-day special at night as well. Not just favours though. Leonie from Style and Cider told me, I think it was Leonie, said their best reaction for any competition was when they gave away a vacuum cleaner. Not trips to Tahiti. So I'm going to one up that. I'm going to give away one. I don't know where I'm going to get these from. One vacuum cleaner in the morning and one at night to someone that tweets or grams or Facebook posts about Red Nose Day and Cure Kids. We picked the charity because 100% of everything they raise goes through to researchers. No admin costs. Thank you so much. Infomercial over, done. Enjoy the games. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. All right. 30 seconds over. So, game over. All right. Now, of course, our new shiny thing for tonight is we would like to welcome Hannah Duder, I hope I pronounced that correctly, for candidate.
quickly show what one of Brooke's favors looks like. So don't go into my slide quite yet. Can we open a browser? So yeah, Brooke is really, hello everybody, my name's Hannah. So today I launched my shiny new thing, and it's been a very exciting day. Yeah, I'll just go on to this because I don't want to screw up. But yeah, Brooke does really good favors. He made a video for me that I was going to show you, but I'll just start with this presentation. I'm going to show you this shiny new thing that I created that, it's an awesome app which is very new age, and I use PowerPoint presentation for tonight, which I find quite funny, as it's what I learned how to do in year 8. But okay, so I'll start by getting this full screen. I don't know how to use this one. Here we go. Okay, so the first screen's version voter, because this is what came out of my shiny new thing, but I'll talk about that in a second. So Candidate. It's an app that you can all use now, web-based. So if you jump onto your browsers that are probably all in front of you because you're social media people, www.candidate.co.nz is a voting app that is very much based and made for 18 to 25-year-olds. So basically there was a massive problem that our country was facing that everyone thought was smaller than what it actually was, which was that 42% of youth didn't vote last election. So the Virgin Voter Collective and while working on Candidate worked out that this was actually 60%. So 60% of youth, 18 to 24-year-olds, didn't vote last election, which is crazy and really bad. So I came up with an idea that I thought would help solve this issue. And it was basically that after I talked to a lot of my friends, I'm 22, so I'm in that age bracket, none of them voted basically because they had no idea who to vote for. It was boring. They hated everything to do with politics. Everyone shoved stuff in their face that was jargon-filled and biased, and it wasn't great. Even the people our age that were promoting it weren't the most approachable people. So basically, I thought, how about giving them that first step? So to inform them about maybe who they could vote for in a really fun, kind of relevant way, which was an app that was based on a super popular app they were already using, which is Tinder. So for those that don't know what that is, it's a dating app. It's really cool, and you swipe through people's faces. It's very much first impression because you're basing on their face and their age and how many mutual friends on Facebook you have, which is a great way to date. So you swipe through their faces, yes, left swipe for no, yes. So I thought of this and I was thinking, we could swipe things for political parties. Yes, I like that policy. No, I don't like that policy. And we created Candidate. So I'll just take you through it. They're just slides, they're screenshots, because otherwise I was going to have to swipe through a few policies in front of you, which would be a bit boring. So here we go. So the first, this is a screenshot of my iPhone, so that's what it looks like on an iPhone. So we're working through, and you can have a tutorial, because everyone loves tutorials. I'm guaranteed that most 18 to 24-year-olds will probably skip this, but we have to have it there, because just in case. So site tutorial, this is where a policy will be shown. And a great thing that I realized is when I asked the political parties for policy statements in 160 characters that didn't involve their name and had no jargon, that's not going to ever happen. They still like to say our policy, their name, and they don't like to stick to 160 characters, and they don't like to not use jargon. So I thought, this is annoying. So the little info button kind of clarifies some of the policy topics that include a lot of jargony words like ETS and I don't know what that means. So we kind of had to clarify all that stuff, because that's why youth weren't voting, because they were throwing words like ETS and capital gains tax, and unless you study tax or, and an 18-year-old isn't going to know what that is. So yeah, you work through, you do your tutorial, and then you start swiping. So this is kind of like an idea. So the policy questions at the top, so that's exactly what I asked the political party. So what is your policy on the legal age for alcohol, consumption, purchase? Keep the legal age at 18. So you literally swipe if you agree or disagree with that. So disagree or agree, whatever you're... Yeah, and you just work through the policies, swiping yes or no. Cool, and yeah, so this is just an example. So there's the ETS that I was talking about. I don't know what that is. Then you can get a way bigger kind of rundown of what that actually means, which is quite important. Cool, and then you get matched randomly. Not randomly, but from your policies. And okay, so we've got, I'm very non-partisan. That was just who got matched. So you get through 5 policy topics, and then you can be matched. There's actually 8 though, so once you get matched for the first time, you can click more, and you keep swiping to the next four topics. There's 9 topics. So this gives you a breakdown of like why you were matched with that party based on the policy topics that you agreed with. And then you can keep swiping. You can also be triple matched. So if you decide to go through and agree with a lot of policies, then there is a chance that you'll get matched with more than one policy. So the whole point of it is not for then to go away and vote for that party. It's to start that interest. So it's to think, oh, okay, so that's the party that maybe I align with. I'll go check them out. So we've got that awesome thing I was talking about before, the Virgin Voter Collective, which is based on like first-time voters. So they're going to go to that website, virginvoter.co.nz, and watch some cool videos that Brooks made, and also go to some other awesome initiatives that are already running. So Candidate, when we first looked into it, there were also a lot of other initiatives already running that were youth-driven and aimed at the exact same thing. So, yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Hannah. It's pretty cool. So if they wanted to, where should they go if they want to use... Oh, the video? Okay, we'll play a video.
I'm Guy Williams. Put down your cell phones and your laptops and focus on what I have to say. This is a viral YouTube video designed to try and trick you into voting. It features high-profile celebrities.
Hi, I'm Olympic silver medalist Sarah Walker, and I think voting is a really good idea. So jump on your bike and head down to the track to get baby air this election. That doesn't even make sense.
And low-profile celebrities.
Ah, John, put the rock here, make sure you rock your vote.
Because my close personal friend Lord is right.
I think young people will be creative. I think young people have the kinds of ideas that people older than us just can't have.
Thanks, Lord. Just the other day, I invented wearing a wetsuit to work so you can shower in your clothes. So come on, get out there and vote. Because if you don't vote, you can't complain when there's a whole lot of old, boring guys running the country. Plus, voting is quick and easy. To find out more, go to virginvoter.co.nz. The website should be scrolling on the screen right now. I promise that it's not important. It's out of control. It's out of control. Someone call someone from the highest shop. I'm the secret. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. The Segway is out of control.
Okay, so virginvoter.co.nz and candidate.co.nz. Thanks, Hannah. All right, and someone's still tweeting and stuff. The favorite part usually for me, I mean, the best thing about being in SMCAKL is actually everyone, it's not really rude, everyone is just on their phones and tweeting. So we kind of sort of tell the panelists it's okay to, you know, they're listening to you, it's just that everyone's really engaged through Twitter. So don't forget, if you want to join in the conversation, it's #SMCAKL. All right, so for our first, we have 4 awesome panelists. Let me just get my slide going here. We have, of course, Stephen Knightley, and this would, see, technology, thank you. Hannah, which due to my laptop. There you go. Okay, we do have 4 panelists. It's Stephen Knightley, Nataly Martini, Owen McCall, and Mike Hales. And to start off, of course, for tonight, they do have each their own presentations. And can we have Stephen Knightley up here in front? Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Your mom's here.
Cool. Good evening, everybody. So you all think we're going to talk about video games. We're not. We're going to talk about gamification, which is something completely different altogether. However, when you do think video games, you think of things like this bad boy here, which is the world's largest entertainment launch ever. It made $1 billion US in 5 days. No, 3 days. By way of comparison, Avatar, the top grossing movie of all time, took 18 days. What the hell was it doing? So the games industry is twice the size of Hollywood and about 3 or 4 times the size of the music industry, and that's also true inside New Zealand. On the other hand, when I also talk about games with people, this other little bad boy also comes up. And yeah, just then I saw an inordinate amount of guilty looks on the audience faces. Who has Candy Crush installed on their phone? Raise your hand, up high, be proud. Apparently it's installed on 20% of all American iPhones, and possibly growing. Now, this thing will also make $500 million. But it doesn't have movie Hollywood casts, it doesn't have gigantic 3D graphics. It has psychology. And that's what gamification is. Gamification is taking the psychology of interactive design out that the world of entertainment video games has mastered and applying it to your boring-ass loyalty program or social media campaign. So gamification, just as a definition to get us going for the night, is using game thinking and game mechanics, the tricks and tips and the psychology of gaming to engage and retain your customers and your users. It's not necessarily making a video game. Hey, if you want to make a video game, that's awesome. I own a games studio. Please come talk to me afterwards. But there are related things called advergaming, which is making a game, which is an ad, or serious games, and there will be a few examples of them tonight, which is a game whose purpose isn't necessarily to entertain, but it might be to help save lives or to educate. So gamification is a horrible American coined buzzword, but it's here, and the evidence is that it works. So look, it is already a 420 million industry, growing hugely, used by all sorts of large global brands, including many in New Zealand. There's elements of this creeping into all sorts of programs already happening here. But of course, you have to do it, like with anything, you have to do it well and do it intelligently. Now, related to this is, who plays entertainment video games? The short answer is the average New Zealander. The average New Zealander is, I think, 34 years old. The average game player in New Zealand is 33. And as you can see there, 47% of them female, the vast majority of them are actually adults. Now, the point here is not that we play video games. The point here is that we all have the literacy to play video games. If I put something in front of you which has points and leveling up in it, you know what that means. In fact, it's a really effective, really useful shorthand. I don't have to explain to you what it means. So here's some examples. What can we do with this gamification thing? It's fantastic for goal setting and giving fast, immediate feedback. That's what we know the app economy is good for. And so in terms of personal motivation, there's many examples, and I think Owen and Nataly will talk a little bit about this after me, of using gamification to track your personal self, your quantified self, to throw in another buzzword, and really fast, immediate feedback. And so one takeaway is provide feedback. Feedback is one of the key things missing in our daily lives. A 6-monthly performance review, a 12-monthly performance review, that's ridiculous when you could give daily feedback. Now, interestingly enough, fitness is a common motivational challenge for many of us. But sometimes knowing how well you are running and having constant reminders of it ain't actually enough. It's not going to get you off your butt and actually go for a run, even though you know it may be good for you, could even save your life. For some reason, the rational knowledge that you could improve yourself is not going to get you going for a run. And I think that's one of the other key insights of gamification, is going beyond the rational motivators. So here's another fitness app. This one's called Zombies Run. It's not afraid to have a little bit of fun with what it's doing. Other uses for gamification. So, being social media club, yes, you can use it to integrate in with your community management and your social media campaigns. And so this is a reasonably stereotypical, I'd say, gamification campaign applied to a telco's online community site. And you can see on the right-hand side, that you could level up. Interestingly, you can level up for different things. You can level up for being a commenter. You could level up for being a contestant. You could level up for being paparazzi, because different people play different games and different things appeal to different people. And they have a leaderboard, which may even be people that you actually know, because it's a social experience and you want to beat them. And you can see there was great results here in terms of sparking the community. So importantly, the community already existed and was already recruited, but they got the community to do stuff. And so another key takeaway is, if you have customers, if you have users, actually ask them to do stuff. Challenge them to do stuff, and then they will do it. If you don't ask, you don't get. There's lots of work with employee incentivization, and you can see here this is integrated into Salesforce, a common CRM system, and challenging people to upgrade a sales opportunity within the next 24 hours. And salespeople, we know, probably from 30 years of sales management, that salespeople tend to be competitive people. You probably know some yourselves. So this kind of thing will work for them. But other people aren't interested in being competitive. They want to play a social game. They want to play a game that's about collecting and finding things. It can help you stick at things. This is a New Zealand site that helps people learn to program computers. But the constant progress and tracking will help you to stick at what can be a daunting task. I would say that the good old New World Little Shop is also a great example of gamification. So this stuff doesn't have to be digital in any means. But collecting is just one of those fundamental human desires, one of those games that we play, the nag factor to mum and dad. So this is an example of one of the psychological tricks that get used in the world of gaming. So we did a project last year with the ACC of all people. One of the things I'm most proud of is I got a government department to sign off on a game about zombies. And I got a handshake from Judith Collins. And you know how she is. So, and a novelty check. So this was a game about household hazards. This is a game about health and safety, the most boring topic imaginable to human beings, despite the fact that people die or go to hospital, but we still consider it boring. That's the disconnect. And so in this game, there's household hazards like slime puddles or power cords or mats that aren't taken down, and you have a choice. Because it's interactive, we actually give you a choice. That's something that people often forget to do in an interactive program. And the choice is, do you clean up the hazards to keep your family safe, or do you keep them there to take the zombies down? And after playing this game, 32% of people reported they actually made a change to their own home to make it safer. So there is a large body of evidence now that the stuff done virtually actually has an impact on your real world behavior as well. We're currently working on a workplace health and safety version too. And there's another good recent project by Auckland University, which was a mental health game, which had clinical research published on the front cover of the British Medical Journal that effectively showed that playing this video game for I think 7 or 8 levels was just as effective as going to a counsellor for several weeks. So there's evidence that this stuff has an impact. Other applications for learning, for scenarios. This is a project that Nataly and I did together, where you're this is for medical students at the medical school, where you get to role play talking to a diabetic patient. Of course, in real life, without killing a real person. And similarly, we're doing a literacy project with the university at the moment as well. And this is a game about analysing, do you trust stuff online? But we don't just spoon feed it to the students. We make them work for it. They have to go and talk to different people who will disagree and have different viewpoints, and then triangulate their own view of what the truth is. And so one of the other main pitfalls that happens with gamification, I'll get this in here early, is that people think gamification is slapping some points, slapping some badges, slapping some rewards on a website or an app. The problem with that is that that's about the score. It ain't about the game. If you're playing a game, you keep the eye on the ball. And so when game designers get together, we look at things like what's really motivating people. And this is Dan Pink, and you can look up his TED Talk talking about the things that really motivate people are autonomy, a sense of freedom, mastery of something, which means being challenged. So clicking next on a website, next, 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 is not challenging. If you want to actually interact with someone, you have to challenge them and then actually give them feedback. And do our loyalty programs, do our apps do that? So most people, most websites, most software designers would give feedback like this, very respectful of your time. On the other hand, a video game designer gives feedback like this, which is not gratuitous violence. It's violence, but it's not gratuitous. This is communicating to the player, you are powerful. You have mastered this game. You, in a social environment, have now got bragging rights over your mate who have you just beaten. There's a whole bunch of other psychology going on here. The violence is actually meaningful violence, which if you're a parent, you should be even more concerned about than the gratuitous violence. And at the same time, there's a whole bunch of things that we avoid. And so you can build these psychological triggers into your apps and programs as well. And I think a nice little example of this, V last year did an online competition where they you entered, you had a safe, and you had to crack a safe, and you had money in your safe. But then you could go and crack your mates' safes. And so it was really appealing to the fear of losing your own money and creating these awesome interactions between people socially to say, oi, you just stole my money, and other variations on that. So one of the things here is don't be afraid to challenge your users. I'll close with this nice little model because I think it's a useful framework. So B.J. Fogg is a professor of persuasive technology at Stanford, and he says to motivate people, you should do these two things. Along the bottom is ability. Make it easier for them. Make reading a policy statement as easy as swiping left or right. Fantastic. And then there's the motivational side of things. So let's use candidate as an example. Motivation is probably mid-level or low. You kind of know you should vote, but these people obviously aren't passionate. So we've made it easy. And then you also have to apply a trigger or a call to action, which could be that simple swiping left or right. Now, software designers, usability experts are really good at making things easy to do. We're getting reasonably good at that as an industry. But what we forget is how do we also motivate people? And I think the takeaway from gamification is that sometimes making it cheaper, more reliable, and all these other rational benefits ain't actually enough to beat the competition, ain't actually enough to get people to really use their app. And that's what all the gamification psychology adds on to your product. Cheers.
Thank you, Stephen. Awesome examples. Appreciate that. Next, we do have Nataly and Owen front to talk about their presentation on the health side.
Great. Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Nataly Martini, and I'm a health educator at the University of Auckland. And what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the work that we've done at the University of Auckland before I hand over to Owen to talk about the game that we're currently designing. And Stephen mentioned a couple of things that I've done with him, and I'd like to sort of take you through a couple of those examples as well, and sort of give you a little bit of background as to the effectiveness of some of these games in relation to health. So you can see up on the screen here, we did a project back in 2007, and that was with a group of children in Kenya. And one of the big projects was around developing some sort of health education material for these kids to learn about real huge problems that they were facing around malaria, HIV, waterborne diseases. And one of the outcomes, as you can see, is a malaria card game. So the malaria card game was actually really important in getting students within the school to engage and interact with this material. One of the problems, however, with card games is that very often they get lost. Students end up not really engaging with them because the teachers tend to move from school to school. And so I came across a couple of people at the University of Hansa University in the Netherlands, and they decided to take this concept and basically devise a game that the students could play online. So in 2003, they had a number of students that were engaged with one another to develop a series of malaria online games that the students could then interact with. And these are just some of the screen grabs that they developed from that project. And that then this year developed into HIV games that the students could learn about how to prevent contracting HIV and how to recognize symptoms. So that kind of evolved once again from online into a mobile technology, considering that a lot of these kids have got mobile phones. And as Stephen mentioned, at the same time, we kind of started talking about what can we actually do at the university to engage students in the medical school and pharmacy school to learn about the content that they were exposed to. And very often, they really struggle with really grasping difficult concepts. So with Stephen and a bunch of health consultants, we decided to come up with this medical scenario game, which is called Ready to Practice. And Stephen already showed some of the snapshots from it. The students are expected to go in, engage with a renal nurse, discuss the concepts with the patient and with the nurse, and decide what the diagnosis of the patient is. And once they come up with a diagnosis, they then present this to the senior medical officer, they develop a drug chart, and in the process, they then go and present to the senior medical officer at a medical handover. So we'll be testing this out within the next month or so with pharmacy students to see how engaged they are. But preliminary studies with some medical students just show that they're so much more engaged with the content. They really want to learn more using games. It's a safe space. They don't, as Stephen said, they can kill the patient, and basically they can replay again and basically save the patient's life through this diagnosis tool. And so with all of this in mind, we decided that there is just so much out there that patients can also stand to benefit. So on the one hand, we've got teaching the medical profession and the health students about health, and then on the other hand, we've got a number of patients who are really struggling to make sense of the health data that they get from their healthcare providers, with all of the huge amount of information that's available out there on the internet. And so we decided with Owen and I to work specifically on a type 2 diabetes game, which we've entitled Quest Your Life. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Owen to tell you a little bit about where that concept came from and how it's sort of developing.
Hopefully it's just a coincidence that when I stood up, the lights went out. As you've probably guessed, since this is the Nataly and Owen part of it, I'm the Owen part. By way of background and context, happily married, 4 kids, 2 of whom are voting this time round, and I'm definitely going to send them to candidate.co.nz to have a look. That would be excellent, and what they learn they can tell me. Interestingly, when I was at school, it wasn't year 8, it was second form, and I didn't learn to use PowerPoint. I was struggling with chalks and blackboards and things, so times have changed. Quest Your Life, where does it come from? Also, in terms of context, day job, I'm an independent consultant, work with teams to help them design work environments that engage the team and therefore create the conditions for high performance. That's kind of what I do in my day job. And we use a lot of the background gamification stuff that Stephen talked about in terms of the psychological tricks, because if you can put that in the work environment, that really helps. How did I get to doing this and working on this game with Nataly? Well, it all happened for me in September last year. And in September last year, as an independent consultant, I decided I needed some income protection insurance. And so I went through the process of getting this insurance done. As doing that, you do routine medical tests, go to your doctor, get the results. Walked into my doctor healthy, walked out with type 2 diabetes. As it happens, type 2 diabetes consumes about 10% of our health budget and managing all the consequences of it, and it's a bit of a major issue. Problem you have is that when you walk into your doctor's office and get told this, pretty much this is what you get told. You're going to die of it. And it's going to be pretty ugly because you'll probably go blind. You might get some gangrene in your limbs and we might have to chop them off. We can give you some medication to help you, but there's really nothing we can do. I don't know, I didn't find that a very happy prognosis, to be honest, and I thought there must be something we can do about it. The problem you have is that when you go to try and do something about it, it happens to be pretty bloody hard because there's not that much good information out there that says something that you can actually do something about it apart from that you're going to die. And the information that you can get is contradictory. Because there's a whole bunch of people who have views upon what your diet should be and what exercise you should do and how you should do stuff, right? But it's actually pretty contradictory, and you don't really know what it is to do, and there's and you can't find the information. So what the hell can you do about it? And the answer is you have to go and try and find out. And I figured it would be really cool if you could get a friend like the Wizard there to help you find out what was going on and can help guide you through all of the things that there is to help you understand how to manage the type 2 diabetes. Because as it happens, it's not irreversible. There are lots of things that you can do to actually beat this thing and live a normal, happy life. It's just bloody hard to find out what it is. In fact, it's not impossible because you can. But what if we started to create a game that can engage people, that can actually show and teach them, talk about the disease, teach them about the disease, show them what the issues are, and help them beat that. And so we started thinking about a game, and I got introduced to Nataly, and we started thinking about it. And so we thought, well, why don't we create a game? Why don't we create a game and we create quests which people can go on to be able to help change their lives. And the objective of the game is to take your avatar and nurse your avatar back to health. And you do that by doing the quests. There's only one trick. You have to actually complete the quests in your real life in order to claim the points in the game. Because by completing the quests in your real life, you get the opportunity to turn your life around and to create a new destiny for yourself. And you can see that being reflected in the game and in your avatar as you make changes in your life going forward. So this is the concept that we're working on. And that's our guide there again, as I say, Merlin. So you go on, provide some information, and you come up with an avatar that shows whether you're sick or not sick. Obviously sick in this case, so we picked a brilliant picture of a well person, as you can see. In there, and you get that and you go, right, you've got to start to nurse back to health. That's where you are at the moment, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can start to do things in terms of quests to make that happen. Different types of quests that you can do, and we reckon there are probably 4 different streams plus a series of daily things that you can do. So one's about learning, right? It's about understanding what type 2 diabetes is about. It's about giving you the information that you need in terms of figuring out how to manage it. There are ones around exercise and how you move your body, because that can make a big difference for you in the future. And I can tell you my car has hardly been out the garage in the last year, and I walk pretty much everywhere that I go these days, just because it's about moving the body and being in motion. What you eat and the food you eat and what's right for you. And based on everything I can tell, become your own human laboratory, because quite frankly no one knows. You have to try and figure it out for yourself. And then social, because we all know, most of us know that we do much better if we've got a support network. And engaging in a support network, if you can encourage people to be able to engage their support network in their quest, be it their family, their friends, whatever, then you're going to be much more successful going forward. And so you have to do these things in your real life. And it might be a simple starter quest like go for a walk for 10 minutes. It might be a simple starter quest on the social side that says talk to your family about reorganising your house so that the foods that you shouldn't be eating aren't there. Whatever it happens to be. And then as you do your quests, you get your points for doing your quests. That's fantastic. Good old basic points in a game, which you can then use for your avatar. And actually, at the end of the day, it's about choice, right? And about how you do it in the avatar. And you can make good choices for your avatar. And you can invest in healthy food. You can invest in running shoes. You can invest in cookies. Or if you want, you can probably invest in vanity choices as well. Right, not right. It isn't going to help your health, but you can see what the impact of that is. And whatever it is that you choose has an impact on your avatar coming back to health. And so you can start to play with what the choices you make in your avatar based upon the progress that you're making within your real world life. And that is the concept that we're working on for our game. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Owen and Nataly. We will take your questions, of course, during the Q&A forum after Mike, actually. If you can have Mike Hales as well, our last panelist for tonight.
You'll be glad this is a fairly short and quite personal presentation, I have to say. So when I was thinking about games and gamification, I thought of it more from a UX and UI perspective. So I thought of it more around what changes it's made to how I interact with things, or how the things I work on are changing in the way that people interact with those. So I thought, well, I'll go back, and I'll think, where did it start? So for me, it started with this. A fine game. And yes, that was me when I was playing this game. Yeah, that turned into this. I don't know what happened. Never mind. Anyone remember this one? Colour. Very exciting, yes. But what about this? Then you start to roll the ball. Everybody remember that? No? Oh, yeah, the older folks are remembering this one. Good, okay. This was the user experience. This is what you used. You wanted to play a game, you had to get your TV out, you had to pull all the cables out the back of it, you had to get this box, you had to plug this in, you had to plug it to the back of the thing, you had to get a cartridge, you plug the cartridge into it, then you could play the game. So that was just insane. Not that long ago either. Now we've moved on. Now we have these fantastic devices that you hold in your hand, you touch them, you interact with the game, you tilt the device itself to play the games. You have devices that pick up your body motion. You don't even need to touch things to play the games now. So people's expectations of digital media is changing so rapidly that when we talk about games and gamification, you've got to think across a very broad spectrum. You've got to think about how people are interacting with these things and what they then carry across into their day-to-day lives. So at Vodafone, we're very much at the start of this sort of journey, if you like. We've expanded our team now. We've got interaction designers, we've got UX designers, we've got UI designers, and it's brilliant. The conversations we now have generally will start in and around this space. We will look at this and we'll go, you know, the vast majority of people that are 33, 34 years old are playing these games. It's not just a youth thing. You can't expect that to be the case. So as I say, the physical barrier's gone. You know, that is very much it's a touch-based thing. The social part, obviously, through different platforms now. You know, my wife and I play games regularly against each other. Generally, I'll be here having my lunch and I'll be playing 2 Dots, which if you've got an iPad, be warned, 2 Dots, highly, highly addictive, but absolutely brilliant. I love it to death. Multiple layers of things. Simplest game in the world. But what happens is I play a game, I play a level, I get my score, and I can see my wife's score. And I can see all the other things. And I play simple things like Sudoku. I don't play, you know, a lot of console games and TV games. But I'm sharing that score with people. And I'm being challenged by people I haven't even met who go, hey, do you want to have a game? Well, okay, I'll have a go at it. So it's changing a vast experience. So for Vodafone, as I say, the expectations and the experience they're expecting from us in the way that they use our platforms and our devices and things is changing. And we're starting to move in that direction. Point and click with the mouse, kind of going away. It's swiping with your finger, it's touching with your finger, whether it's your iPad, your phone, whatever. Very soon, you know, we've got TV products coming through, so you can imagine there's a whole world of things that's going to open up there as well. So the first thing that really that I wanted to just highlight was the Fantastic Fridays, which launched about 2 weeks ago. Really simple premise. You go to Facebook on a Friday, you just play this roulette game, and you may or may not win. But my God, it's so simple. People just love it. They come in and they hit it and they hit it, they hit it. And the response is really positive. And that's kind of, for us, it sits nicely in that position of what we're about as a brand, providing some fun and, you know, getting people engaged. And then likewise onto the mobile device, same thing, slightly different, but the impact and the visual experience is the same. We've brought the swipe into it, and then up come your prepaid deals. So advert over. So that's it from me. It was just around, as I say, for me it's that personal journey, starting way back with Pong, coming all the way through those different things, coming into this era now where, you know, I've had fascinating conversations, and these talks have been absolutely brilliant. You know, just open your mind out, think about how the breadth of the experience that these things are bringing into your space, whatever your business, whatever your work, it's going to change the way that you deal with your audience and your customers. Thank you.
And thank you, Mike. All right, can we please have everyone, I mean not everyone, panel, to sit. I don't think we're going to fit all say, yeah, I know exactly. Please come here at the front. But before we start to take your questions, we'd like to have Megan actually just say a few words, and I'll put up that slide over there.
just the musical interlude. I'm going to talk about, just quickly, Random Acts of Kindness Day. But before I do, I'd like you all to check under your seats and see if miraculously a bar of chocolate covered in tape has plopped onto the floor underneath your seat. And if you're the person, stand up with it. And if it's a big bar of chocolate because it's so heavy because it fell off, you might have to share it. There you go. There's a random act of kindness right there. How many have heard of the day? One person? Okay. I started the day with 3 friends and 10 years ago. So it's our 10th anniversary in New Zealand on the 1st of September. And I just wanted to let you guys know about it because on the day, I just would love you guys to engage with our new hashtag, Rack Day. 10 years ago, no one knew about hashtags. No one was even doing anything on social media. So would really love your support. On our website, rack.co.nz, you can download these little You've Been Racked cards if you really want to take it on board and do some fun stuff. But I'd love your support and thank you for the opportunity to share the day with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Now let's go to the stream. I haven't really looked at the stream. Okay, interesting. All right, so what I'll do, I have another mic here, actually. We're going to go around the room and see if you have any questions. And while you're thinking, or brave enough to actually ask your question, for the panel, maybe for Stephen or any of you, Mike, I've heard about the different types of players and stuff. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because one thing that you did mention about Salesforce.com, wherein there's killer. There is such a thing as a killer, by the way, when you do some gamification strategies and planning. But do you have any thoughts about that? Do you actually look at all the players and say, maybe we should just create a game or a gamification solution for an app, say, just for the killers?
Yeah, okay. So I can outline this. So what she's probably referring to is the Bartle types. There's a guy called Richard Bartle who made one of the first online MMO role-playing games, and he did a big study, and he said there are 4 types of game players. There are killers. So there are killers who want to win at all costs, and it's important that somebody else loses. It's actually a social activity. And you may recognize these people from your workplace, your family, your social netball team. Other people are achievers, so they're all about personal self-progression, mastery. They want to be the top of a leaderboard, and they don't even care who else is on the leaderboard. Other people might be socializers. So this is Auntie's Bridge Club, where actually the game is really just a platform for having a social experience. And actually Farmville is a great example of that as a video game. And other people are collectors. So that's the kids who are out to complete the Little Shop set, or also people who want to explore and discover every last secret. And so, yeah, when we're designing a game, the best games appeal to all of those different types of people and even allow you to have different roles in them. Or you could really double down and say, right, this game's just for killers. And in actual fact, you'll find things like games like Call of Duty actually aren't aimed at killers. They're aimed at people who are into teamwork, people who are into support roles. It's actually a team-based activity. Something like Candy Crush is more a game for a killer, to be honest. But then when I do a gamification consulting project, the question I ask is, okay, those 4 categories are useful starting points, but for your customers, how are they? Are there any particular customer personas that really work? So I'm doing work with a financial services client at the moment, and rather than talking about killers and socializers, we're talking about people who think money is abundant, people who think I'm never going to have money, and people who are like, she'll be right. And we're busy trying to make the game, which looks like a financial planning spreadsheet, appeal to those 3 different groups.
Mike, do you have any thoughts? That's it?
I think rather than sort of gaming profiles, we tend to look same sort of thing. We look at personas because the areas we cover appeal to such a wide range of people that I think we couldn't double down. It would be very tempting and it would be great to do that, but no, we try and reach as broad an audience as possible. So we definitely look at personas and we work from that as a base, and that will guide us. But I mean, as I say, there's still a lot of work for us to do. We've only just started and scratching at this, especially as a big corporate.
Awesome. Natalie, Owen, any thoughts on that? When you create your, okay. So here's my, here's my next question. There is this thing about, well, we know the pros, you know, you've seen it with their presentations. Is there any negative impact when we do gamification? And I've heard some, and I've read some articles, especially on the HR or trading side, that it didn't really work. Have any experience or thoughts about that?
So I'll start this one off. I mean, gamification is powerful because it links into our deep psychology. And so it's possible to use this to do bad just as much as it is possible to do good. The reason I'm interested in it is because I believe it can change people's behaviour and change people's lives. So you can absolutely use that for evil if you want to, every bit as much as you can for good. So there are some potential downsides for it. That's probably true of every technology that we've ever invented, that there's downsides as well as good sides to it. And you know, the example I like to talk about is the US coroner, first person died on the roads from a car accident, and it's like this can never be allowed to happen again. We all know there are millions of people who've died on the roads, and yet who's going to give up their car, right? We're all going to do it. We know there are downsides and there are positives. And you know, I think it's up to the gamification practitioners, if you like, to make sure that we're using it with good intent and that we're using it with good in mind.
So I have a white hat answer and a black hat answer. So the black hat answer is that addiction is another word for customer loyalty and retention. So that's just when, you know, simplistically people come to me and say, oh, I want to make an app and I want it to be just as addictive as Clash of Clans because that'll help sell life insurance. But on the other hand, a lot of those techniques that we're using are once you have signed up for the app. So there's another interesting distinction about a game. A game is voluntary. It's, hey, would you like to play hide and seek? Hey, let's play cops and robbers. If someone forces you to play a game, if there's a big German drill sergeant behind you saying, you must have fun, it automatically stops being fun. So generally, you're still buying into it and saying, yes, I'm up for this thing. And then you're down the rabbit hole. So there's still, look, like anything else marketing-based, it's still permission-based. Doubly so when it's a voluntary game.
Awesome. Okay, we'll take on anyone from the audience who'd like to ask a question or two. Yep.
A question for Stephen and on general. How would you go about, say, gamifying a MOOC? Because I think that'd be a pretty rich thing you could go into, how you could gamify that.
Cool. What games do you already play with books?
I said MOOC.
A what?
A MOOC, a massively open online course. A MOOC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How would you go about gamifying that?
So, what games do you already play with a MOOC? With a massively online course. What games are already being played? Because that question will unlock those intrinsic things that people are already getting out of it. Are they getting status by being the best in the class? Are they getting that personal sense of mastery or achievement? You know, they're the bookworm persona, so they want to do that. So that's the thing. It can apply. You know, that's the question to ask and look for. What are people already doing with this product? And then you find a way to amplify that digitally.
There's a lot of courses already that use various types of gamified techniques to get people involved. There's a lot of sort of clinical, sort of medical learning sort of strategies in which they provide badges and any kind of other type of sort of social media to actually get people more involved and show their status. So as soon as they learn the next thing, they elevate their status. So they get more authority, and once they sort of get to a certain level, they can then provide input to other people as well. So that's already happening in the medical faculty.
Yeah, no, I was going to touch on the same sort of thing with social currency being I think the key into that sort of side of things, because it opens up further conversations where people can see that someone else is an expert and that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of idea we've applied to things within Vodafone, like the community. You know, we've got the same sort of social currency there, where people move up through the ranks and they get awarded points and things like that. So I think a MOOC, really what you're looking for there is the fact that it is a community of people using that space and that activity. So you want to be able to feel that you're part of a group and be able to reach out to people, especially if it's something that you're just venturing into for the first time, for example.
My view is that in many real-world applications, actually trying to make it a game in the sense of what you think of a game isn't necessarily a smart thing to do. But what you can do is you can start to look at the psychological principles behind what game designers try to do and bring those to the environment that you're in. So the question perhaps for me wouldn't be so much, can you make it a game? And there might be ways which you can do that. But it's more just building on some of the things Stephen says is around how can we create an environment that helps our students obtain mastery, have autonomy and sense of choice around what they're doing, and acting with a sense of purpose. And how do we set that up in a way that gives them the choice around how they achieve what they need to achieve in the course to make that happen. And it may or may not look like a game, but it's building an environment which pulls on those deep psychological needs that we all have for a sense of choice, for a sense of mastery, for a sense of purpose. And think of it in those terms initially, rather than saying, I want to make it a game.
Awesome. Any more questions from the audience? Wow, this is everyone's so quiet. I should look at the tweets, actually. Anyone else? Sorry? Rewards. Yes, we are actually. Oh, I failed to mention, by the way, the cool T-shirt that you'll hear from Imersha in a few minutes. I have Gianna there helping me out, trying to pick the best tweet, by the way. So you still have you kind of chosen? Okay, we have a couple or a few. And then we'll pick a random number on the short list, and then that's going to be the winner for the cool T-shirt. Any other questions, guys? Wow. Okay, here we go.
Just thought it might be interesting to hear what the most common mistake or failure or stupid thing people do when they try and gamify things, maybe from all of you.
So as I had briefly on one of my slides before, the simple thing is just adding points on it and adding some badges on it. And why that fails is that that's extrinsic motivation without the intrinsic motivation, which is the purpose, autonomy, mastery stuff that Owen has said. And maybe what isn't always clear is that how do you make the links between it? So if you're giving someone a point, give them the point because they've achieved mastery. If you're going to give them some personal, choice of a whole bunch of icons or customizing what their avatar looks like, or even, so like BNZ's U Money is a good example. You can kind of customize what your bank account looks like if you want to. That's personalization and autonomy. So it's the kind of connection between just slapping a point on it ain't always the great way of expressing that intrinsic thing that people are really getting out of it. But this is what kind of going to the point about the user interfaces. You can adapt these, maybe swiping or your inventory system from a role-playing game or stuff like that is actually how you will bring some of those things to life, in terms of what they actually look like.
The one that springs to mind for me is Foursquare. That was supposed to be a game and sharing social places and all that sort of stuff, and just pardon my French, but it just died on its ass. And they've now split it into two, Well, so do I, but I don't know why I do it. That's the point, It's that addictive quality to it. So that for me was the dumb. That's the biggest dumb thing I can think of. That was actually, you could see now they've evolved to actually what they wanted to do, but they tried to wrap it up that way. I think the most common mistake, as was mentioned, was is the simplicity point. It's making it as simple as possible. That's what games are great at. You find yourself sliding into a game, and suddenly you've spent an hour and a half, 2 hours on it, and you're like, how the hell did that happen? Dots. Again, for me, that's one of those things. I was like, what's this thing? And then I was like, oh, crap. Where did those 3 hours go? So it's the simplicity piece that I think people often miss.
Before he goes to Foursquare, I tend to agree. I think if what you're trying to do is do something which is aimed at being superficial and manipulative, that's where you'll fail.
And the analysis of why I've seen Foursquare failed is it got boring after a while. There was nothing more to do. And this is why I said before, challenge is important. As soon as you have mastered a game, it becomes boring. As soon as you master noughts and crosses, as soon as you knew you could always get a draw or win noughts and crosses, that's when you stopped playing noughts and crosses. Yeah, unless, as Owen just said, unless you're a killer, and the point of playing noughts and crosses was to beat your little brother or your little sister. So there was a bigger game going on. And so like chess, good luck mastering that. So you'll keep trying until you think you fall out. So that's kind of why complexity. So it's not always about simplifying things. It might be about simplifying the user interface, but not necessarily simplifying the user experience. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, probably one more question from the audience. I saw, hey John, I saw someone who raised their hand earlier. Oh, okay. John's gonna make a statement. Sorry, we lack mics, so I should run.
Yeah, sorry to hug this with a statement. I was just going to remark on that sort of deep-seated psychological stuff that goes on with games, because I used to gamify my little brother, and I used to time him to run upstairs and get us a biscuit and come back down again, and I realized how powerful that was to drive a human being to do things when there was a game or a time or something involved, and it hasn't left me.
Thank you, John. Okay. Over there. Yep.
So sorry, just before the next
Go
one. In our household, so I've got 4 kids. In our household, we go through a little ritual at night when we talk about our days. But one of the things is that we issue awesome points for our kids whenever they've done something awesome, and it's a random card draw. So the amount of awesome points you get is in no way related to what it is you do. It's a random card draw for the number of points. But if you do something awesome, you get to go into the draw to do awesome points and do awesome points. And then the awesome points, the kids have worked up a redeeming table for what you can redeem your awesome points for, and it's things like spend one-on-one time with someone else that you want to, or have someone play with you, do this, whatever it is. It's nothing monetary. You can't redeem it for anything monetary, but it's incredibly powerful. The kids will do amazing things to try and get an awesome points draw.
All right, we have one, and yes, I haven't forgotten you, and I have one question as well, not unless they ask mine.
So NZQA is spending a lot of time and money looking at how we can develop online, anytime, anywhere, NCEA assessments, so the equivalent of school C and bursary for people who have been out of school for a while. But do you think they're barking up the wrong tree? Should we be looking at how they can be investing in gamifying qualification frameworks rather than just online exams?
I'm not really sure how to answer that. I mean, I'm a health educator at university, and I know that there's a lot of resistance from the medical faculty to gamify things, primarily because they see games as being fun. And medical education is serious business, so why try and make it fun when these students are supposed to be learning about saving lives? From my perspective, I think that there's huge value in creating something that is an easy way to learn and incorporating fun and engagement. And it's not just about fun, it's about really engaging people in the learning process. And that is what we're finding through a lot of the work that we're doing now, is that students become more engaged, and in the process of engaging with the learning material, they're actually really learning. And so there's just, at the moment, there's just not enough information that's coming out to say that this is definitely the way to go. I think that there's potential, whether you want to gamify everything. I'd have my reservations around that. I think there is real value in different kinds of learning, but I think certainly introducing gaming is one way to get people actively sort of engaged in that process and learn.
So I'm not an educator, but I am opinionated. And I reckon it depends upon their goal. If their goal is making it easy to get qualifications, then it's probably a good thing. If their goal is to support people's learning, then I'm not sure that putting exams online is a very useful thing.
Yeah, kind of building on those last two comments, I think gamification may be great for the process of learning and possibly for assessment as you go. But if it's like exams online, which is what the final summative assessment, possibly not. And going back to the psychology of what is a game, because a game is this voluntary, hey, let's do it thing, you're given permission to play. So, and I've had this sometimes with some kind of simulation projects for clients. It's like, if I give you the simulation, you'll go around and mess stuff up. That's the whole point of it. It's a game. You'll try to break it. You will try to do it wrong. Because you're exploring and we've given you freedom. So you won't actually necessarily go to do the one correct thing because A, there is no one correct thing, and B, that would be boring. So I've seen some people say, oh, we've made the simulator, now can we assess people with it? It's like, well, no, their first 2 attempts, they're going to purposely muck around. You need to tell them, right, now it's the exam. And the difference there, though, between it being the game and the exam is really just what you call it.
All right, just one more question. Don't have enough time. Wish we had another hour, half an hour.
Hi, this is probably really a question for you, Stephen. I just wondered, if as corporates start to get excited about this stuff and they say, oh my God, here's a way for me to engage customers. Have you ever had a client where you're just like, oh my God, your product is so shit boring, or your whole business just makes me kind of rich from my heart till I could be using this tool to deceive people into engaging with your awful thing, Because it strikes me a little bit like social media. There's a lot of social media accounts, no one here obviously, but there's a lot of social media accounts for corporates you just don't care about and you can't begin to care about. And you look at the people who join their kind of Q club or G club or whatever it is and you think, who the hell would ever do that? So I just wondered, it's kind of provocative, I suppose.
Thanks, mate. So you had me thinking, who could I name and shame and get away with it or not? I don't know. Like I've had some really boring ass clients. On surface, it's like mortgages or or insurance, but then actually we've managed to find something interesting in there. It's more been the people who no one would want to join their club anyway, and so that's the thing. I don't think gamification it is not great at customer acquisition. You don't make a game and it goes viral because you don't make a YouTube video and it goes viral. That doesn't happen. So it's kind of like we actually have to have some customers who give a damn about your thing first, and then we'll help you engage. So I've had a few clients who have said, well, first, go sort out your digital and social marketing strategy and then come back. Because I can't help you retain, improve your retention for the 10 customers you do have. So, sorry, I'm not going to dish the dirt.
All right, we have, just a few more minutes. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much to all our panelists for taking the time. I know you all are busy gamifying stuff. Let's give them a hand. And of course, it is prize time. Yes, you can just come here. I hope Gianna has a few, but before we announce the winner, we'd like to have John just from Immersia to kind of explain what this cool prize is. Yes, I think we can. Yes. No, not 1 hour. 30 seconds, or else it's game over. Okay, here you go. Yep, thanks. Okay, let's see if this works.
Five, four, three.
What do you think? Great. Huge success. Thank you. Okay, I'll explain what this is. Well, about a year ago, I stood up there and tried to explain what immersion was. And 2 people got it, and they're still working with us. What we have is basically a cloud-based, massively multiplayer gaming engine for the real world. So what we do when we're creating games is applying games, gaming theory and gaming mechanics to everyday real-world practice. So the application of gamification is something very, very natural for us. It's something that our platform was designed to do, but we found something really radical, which is gamification is also really, really good at applying to games. Have a look at this. This is, I think it's coming up, maybe. Or maybe not. So what we're looking at here is a synthesis of gaming. I'll let it speak for itself.
Extension is the only way. Maybe
this is a live audience experience, and the audience are inside a game. So what we've done is we've shamelessly stolen the idea from Tron. But I've always said I've got a lot more time for Walt Disney than Steve Jobs. So this show that we've created is a combination of multiple scripts. Okay, there's a script with multiple narratives. So when the audience comes into the performance, they're actually in the show. So we've got a series of actors, we've got hundreds of zombies and buckets of blood. And what happens is the audience runs into one of many possible narratives. And the interesting thing is with this is the audiences come again and again, but each time they come to the show, they've got a completely different experience. So this particular show was just introduced. We just debuted at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and we now find out as of this week it's the most successful show ever at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And as a result of that, we've now got a booking on the West End next year, which is so going to be a purpose-built theatre for our zombie show. So believe it or not, this is the first New Zealand theatrical production on the West End, along with and it's a zombie show. So hopefully before the end of this year, before the last SMCAKL, the team are going to be coming back from the UK in October. We might do a special SMCAKL event all about the story of the zombie show. What I'm holding is the prototype zombie t-shirt. Now this zombie t-shirt's a bit different because it connects to our cloud. So this zombie t-shirt is quite capable of talking to you. It's designed to be entirely inappropriate and provocative. Now you just wear it as a t-shirt, but if people have our little app, then what they'll see is something very different. It's a three-dimensional video-enabled AR experience that your mother will never forget. So this is a one of a kind. It's the only one on the planet. There's hundreds of others that are actually have been sold at the Edinburgh Fringe, but this is the granddaddy of all of them. It's the prototype version of the zombie AR t-shirt. So we're going to offer this as a prize tonight. I'm not sure who the lucky zombiette is, but should I pass to you?
Yep. We'll find out who it is. Gianna, how many do we have in our short list?
So we had 10.
Okay, so we'll pick a number, John, from 1 to 10.
How long have I got? 7.
7. Okay, who is it, Gianna?
It is Matt Sumner, NZ.
Awesome, congratulations. Thanks, John. And I would love to talk about gamification and have more panelists and stuff, but we have to go. So thank you very much, everyone, for... Someone's knocking? Yes, come in. It might be too late, though. Oh, no. I think we'll talk about zombies next time. Okay, but thank you, everyone, for coming to tonight's session. Next month, I believe... Louis, does anyone know when the next SMCAKL is? Not yet? Well, go to our Facebook page, of course. If you haven't liked it yet, and just check it out. We'll have the next event as well.
I'm going to be really boring, and please ask you to take your rubbish out with you to the bins. It'll save me doing it. Thank you. We've got some recycling and rubbish bins just to the entry. If they fill up, please leave it next to them. That'd be choice.
Yep. And we continue networking, by the way, across the road at Sofitel at Sabraj. So join us as well. The team is going to be there. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.